Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. Well, it looks like there's going to be even more fallout coming out from the Ubisoft company after they decided to completely and totally shutter their doors on what was supposed to be their Fortnite competitor, XDefiant, out there. Yes, boys and girls, the game that completely and totally failed the launch has now been shut down and been announced that they will no longer be going forward with the game 6 months after it's released. And now there's some leaked emails out there, some internal communications from Ubisoft itself talking about the fact that this is going to cause massive amounts of layoffs and that they will be closing studios all over the world, boys and girls. Yes, and this leads even more credence to the fact that Ubisoft is broke, that they have lost hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, on the video games that they have published that have absolutely fallen flat with the audiences and the gamers out there over the last few years. And well, that's just the way the cookie crumbles, boys and girls. They say it's not very fun to kick a man while he's down, but boys and girls, Ubisoft has brought this upon themselves, and it's exactly what they deserve. It just sucks for all the employees that are probably hardworking, nice people out there that are actually just trying to do their good job and keep their heads down. But this is what happens when you have a management that's completely and totally insane and goes completely and totally against all of what the fans and the gamers want and give us a bunch of hot garbage. And well, now you see what happens when you have a bunch of broken and buggy messes like you did with Star Wars Outlaws. You can't continue going down that frame without end up causing a big bunch of money. And unfortunately, the management decisions are affecting people all the way down the line, because as you can see over here from fandompulse.substack, Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemard appeared to hint that more layoffs are coming to the company after it shut down XDefiant. And why wouldn't there be, boys and girls, when you're closing literally, I think we've got a count of 3 studios that they've announced that they're officially closing. You can't put all of those people in other places, and considering their studios all over the world, you're going to have a lot of people that don't want to move to the other places where these projects are going to end up going. And guess what? The remote work stuff is really starting to go away nowadays. And so, yeah, a lot of people, because of the fallout from XDefiant, are going to end up losing their jobs. Once again, proving the fact that Ubisoft is broke, boys and girls, and everything that they've been doing is turning into nothing but disastrous dumpster fires. So we're going to check out this article from fandompulse.substack.com and get all of the juicy details. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Is there any particular Ubisoft games over the last couple of years that you thought were actually major successes out there? Does it surprise you at all that more and more people are going to end up losing their jobs and Ubisoft has to shrink overall as a company because of all of the absolute huge flops that they've had over the last couple of years? Well, let us know what you think about all that in the comment section down below. And if you'd like to support the channel, please check out the links in the description as well. So from our dear sweet John F. Trent over there at fandompulse.substack, Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemard hinted that the more layoffs are likely coming to the company after it announced it shut down XDefiant and we're laying off around 300 people, boys and girls. 300 people, and that number will probably only end up growing. In a blog post written by Ubisoft's chief studios and portfolio officer Maria Sophie, the company announced, despite an encouraging start, the team's passionate work and committed fan base, we've not been able to attract and retain enough players in the long run to compete at the level we aim for in a very demanding free-to-play FPS market. As a result, the game is too far away from reaching the results acquired to enable further significant investment, and we are announcing that we will be sunsetting it. Concretely, that means as of today, new downloads, player registrations, and purchases will no longer be available. Season 3 will still launch, and the servers will remain active until June 3rd, 2025, out of appreciation for both our dev teams who worked on it and for XDefiant's active players. And oh yes, boys and girls, and why are they making sure nobody else can sign up now? Because they've already drastically reduced the server load for this kind of thing, and if they had a bit of influx of people because all of a sudden this game's going away, then of course it would crash and break all the servers, and the game would be even more of a broken and buggy mess, and more people like me would be making videos about this completely and totally laughing at them and ridiculing them. But as of right now, XDefiant's gone, and a whole lot of people are losing their jobs in the process because management decided to go down a path of something ridiculous that the fans didn't want and didn't resonate, and now it's blown up in their faces. Uber then explained that not only is the company shutting down XDefiant, but it was closing its San Francisco and Ahsoka production studios. Even if almost half of the XDefiant teams worldwide will be transitioning to other roles within Ubisoft, the decision also leads to the closing of our San Francisco and Ahsoka production studios and the ramp down of our Sydney production site, with 143 people departing in San Francisco and 134 people likely to depart in Osaka and Sydney. I mean, that's literally right there up in where that 300 number practically is going to be. And like I said, it's probably going to end up being even more, boys and girls. An all-staff email penned by Ubisoft and Yves Guillemard was leaked by Tom Henderson at Insider Gaming. In the email, Guillemard justified the game's closure and the layoffs. We wanted to take a firm and clear decision to enable us to concentrate our investments and forces on more profitable projects, i.e. this thing ain't making no money. He then hinted at possible more layoffs as the company will have more targeted restructurings. While anybody that's been covering any of this kind of corporate stuff for any length of time, or you've ever been involved involved in one of these targeted restructurings. We know what that means, boys and girls. Explain exactly what you do here. Justify your job. Because, yeah, as we've seen a lot of the times inside these companies, which is the reason why these budgets get so bloated and oversized, is because they have a lot of fake jobs. A lot of people double checking and triple checking things over nonsense and garbage that doesn't need to be concerned themselves with in any way, shape, or form in the video games. And guess what? It looks like a lot of those people are probably going to be losing their jobs. And guess what? That's what you get. I am well aware that given the current context, that such an announcement may worry you, and that's understandable. Yeah, you should be worried. You're all getting fired. The entire industry is facing similar difficult decisions, and often the scale of the impact is much larger. Oh, well, you know, it's not our fault. It's happening everywhere. It's not because of decisions we've made. No, it's an industry-wide problem. Yeah, why is it there's an industry-wide problem? Oh, that's right. The entire industry decided to bet on the same horse, and it blew up in their faces. Our organization has allowed us to limit the impact of these kind of decisions and make more targeted restructuring. And all our efforts are focused on trying to maintain this course and philosophy. We will continue working on evolving our organization to adaptate it to market changes and with long-term perspectives in mind. We're broke. We have to make a bunch of cost cuts or our entire company is going to go belly up and bankrupt. We can't keep going down this path anymore. Something has to change. Furthermore, Guillemot revealed that the company will allegedly be making significant changes across the board. In the coming days, some members of the executive committee will reach out to you. Russell will share new initiatives and at addressing some of the questions raised by Ubisoft XP. Maria Sophie will present initiatives to bring back a daily focus on creation, ensuring fewer unnecessary processes. I wonder what some of those unnecessary processes could be. Diversity, inclusion, and equity, maybe? And more time dedicated to what truly matters to each of us, making the best games possible. Of course, obviously the direct opposite of what they did with Star Wars Outlaws, which released as a broken and buggy mess, which the very first patch basically bricked everybody's game and all their saved files going forward, where they had to completely and totally restart after paying $130 for early access. Boy, yeah, I wonder if maybe you should concentrate on making a good quality game instead of just all of this other kind of nonsense. Yeah, strange concept. I know. Weird. Alan Core will provide updates on the launch of Assassin's Creed Shadows, progress made in strengthening our relationship with gamers, particularly regarding the Crew Motorfest and Star Wars Outlaws. Well, good luck with that disastrous dumpster fire, because that thing's already blown up in your face and you've basically already written it off as a done project. You guys know that this thing is going to go nowhere, and the sales, I mean, nobody's playing this on Steam when you launched it. Nobody cares about that game. You spent over $500 million on Star Wars Outlaws and it has turned into a giant disastrous dumpster fire of a flop. And boys and girls, this is the consequences of those actions. Trust me, the rest of these studios would not be closing down if they had not lost a $500 million on Star Wars Outlaws, if they already are going to end up losing hundreds of millions of dollars on Assassin's Creed Shadows, if they hadn't lost hundreds of millions of dollars on Prince of Persia. I mean, everything that Ubisoft has put out over the last few years has turned into nothing more than a garbage dumpster fire that has blown up in their faces, and now they're suffering the consequences for it. And unfortunately, there's probably a lot of good people out there that are going to lose their jobs over this. And we can go down the rest of the way throughout this entire rabbit hole of what John F. Trent's so very good about at putting these articles together. We can talk about how Ubisoft already admitted that XDefiant's numbers were really, really low. It came in under expectations. That's a lovely little buzzword that they use out there in corporate speak to say something flop. They said the same thing with Star Wars Outlaws. They're going to end up saying the exact same thing with Assassin's Creed Shadows, and they said the exact same thing with XDefiant. And obviously Prince of Persia was the exact same way. So you can go through their entire laundry list of all of the things that they failed and all the things that they flopped, but XDefiant is an utter and complete and total disaster for them. It has lost them hundreds of millions of dollars, if not probably $500 million, because that's what the kind of money that these studios, these quote unquote AAA game studios, which none of them really haven't produced a AAA game in a very long time, outside of a few rare exceptions. This is what ends up happening to them. They try to go into all these realms. Everybody wants to jump on all of these other bandwagons. They try to chase dragons that they're never going to succeed at. Guess what? You're never going to be Fortnite. It's not going to happen. Can you give us a good quality game that a lot of people are going to enjoy? But no, XDefiant is one of those games that a lot of people are like, it was made strictly for hardcore competitive players. And when you've got a wide audience out there that you actually need to appeal to everybody out there, you're not going to get that kind of thing out there, especially when you spent hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, if you only spent 10, 20, $50 million in this game and it was strictly for, very concentrated, very particular segment of the gaming corner out there, then that would work out. It's the same thing in Hollywood. You make a $10 million movie that's made for a niche audience. If you make $50 million, awesome, you made a profit. But in a situation like this, when you spend hundreds of millions of dollars, $300 to $400 to $500 million on something like this, it is almost guaranteed it is going to end up being a flop, because you are just not going to have a broad enough appeal. And this is what Ubisoft is talking about doing. They're talking about they're firing all these people, laying everybody off, cutting the processes, cutting out the garbage, and reducing costs. Because guess what? Ubisoft is broke, boys and girls, and this just further confirms it. And they did it to themselves. At the end of the day, Ubisoft, we've seen the kind of hiring practice they've got. We've seen the leak emails. We've seen the stuff that they published on their websites. These people decided to concentrate on identity politics over actually hiring people with good quality reputations out there that actually know what they're doing and can give us good quality games. They ran off all of the people that were actually the driving forces behind a lot of the creativity inside of Ubisoft in favor of all of this diversity, inclusion, and equity nonsense. And this is what happens when you hire people based on not the content of their character, but on what the color of their skin is, or whatever their sexual orientation is. It never works out for you because people completely and totally obsessed with those kind of things aren't concentrating on making good quality games. They're not concentrating on giving the fans and the gamers out there what they want. And they certainly sure as hell don't care about making you a profit. Because the only kind of profit they're concerned about is being a profit for their cult and pushing all of their agenda-driven nonsense. And guess what, Ubisoft? You decided to buy in on what everybody in marketing told you was going to be the new hot thing, because marketing in your HR department had been taken over by all of these little psychopaths out there, and you ended up hiring a bunch of people based on immutable characteristics that have no idea what they're doing. I mean, Ubisoft has already flat out come out and said that most of the people working on Assassin's Creed Shadows have never worked on a video game before. How well do you think that's going to end up going? They continue to go forward and concentrate and decide to hire based on identity politics and not actual content of their character and good quality experience out there. It has moved from an actual course out there on is gone from a culture based on meritocracy and what you can actually provide for the company and how well you can succeed to basically how you identify and what your ridiculous pronouns are. And guess what? When you hire people like this is what you're going to get. XDefiant has turned into a disastrous dumpster fire. Ubisoft has lost hundreds of millions of dollars, and now there's hundreds of people losing the jobs because of poor management decisions. And guess what? At the end of the day, Ubisoft, I hope you shrink down to almost nothing. So maybe you can actually concentrate on only making good quality games and not all of the rest of the BS. But at the end of the day, that's going to be Ubisoft's management's decision, and after all, they will get exactly what they deserve.